Welcome back, students. Let's go on to the next topic, where we will take one more step ahead to where we left earlier. Yes, we discussed about entrepreneurship. Just a recap further, what did we do? We understood what are the qualities as in an entrepreneur. We understood various aspects of entrepreneurship. We also understood what are the different qualities that an entrepreneur has, and now we will move forward from there. We will understand what does entrepreneur do, and how do they actually find out what is the opportunity. How do they find out? And now the topic that for the day to start with is called identifying the opportunity. Yes, so identifying the opportunity, or it's also called OSI, which means opportunity scanning and or sensing and identification, OSI. That means we need to understand an opportunity. We need to scan the opportunity. So in doing so, every entrepreneur who does that OSI has to start with an opportunity. Yes, before doing a business, the opportunity must be identified, must be defined, and must be assessed. That means, number one, you identify the opportunity. Second, you might define the opportunity, what it is. Okay, what are things I need to be done? And then, based on that, we see analysis. Can I do this? Is it the right thing for me to do? Is the market allowing? So all the various factors that are required are done in opportunity scanning and identification. What we're going to do is we are going to work further in how an entrepreneur establishes that. We need to understand the fact that how does idea come to the mind of an entrepreneur, that what is an opportunity? What opportunity can actually become as an enterprise? So that means there's something that we need to work out. But is it easy to find out? I don't think so. It's easy to find out that what entrepreneurs do to identify an opportunity, isn't it? Okay. But there was actually a survey conducted to find out and onto the structure and promotion of small-scale industries in India, and it was based on the fact to find out for the future development what entrepreneurs do, and they probed the existing entrepreneur. That means they asked a question to the previous entrepreneurs as to what motivated them. So what is the point that motivates them to establish or set up their own business or an enterprise? Now, there are a few results which I'll share with you. The maximum number, or the big number, which was 34.5% of the entrepreneurs said they set up their enterprise because they had previous experience and interest in the industry. That means if you're opening up a travel agency, they had an experience in travel agency, or they had interest in opening travel agency. The next bracket that came up to 22.5%, they said they wanted to become self-employed. They had a desire to become self-employed. So that's another very important result that came out. And 12.3% of the entrepreneurs said their family was in the same business. So that's why they moved on and they started their own enterprise. And 11.7% that said they wanted to make their livelihood from an industrial enterprise. And last but not least, 10.5% said because they saw the growth potential in the industry. That means they found that there's something growth in the industry. That is why they started the enterprise, or they ventured into a new business. Now, entrepreneurs actually, they selected the products which had good demand in the market. Yes. So market demand was another big factor that they picked a particular enterprise or particular business. Additionally, they also saw that there was a high profitability. Now, example I'll give you: if a business is there and your rate of return is not too high, you have to do a lot of efforts to get a rate of returns. So maybe that may not really support any business, any enterprise or entrepreneur, because when you start a business as an entrepreneur, you will not have big finances, but you will have a big thought process. You will have a big desire to be achieving things. But again, this was another output that came out. Now, At one point of time, it's very, very important to understand that you know the business is to fulfill the need of the market or need of the customer, right? So at times you need to understand the whole process, or it's called a life cycle of a particular tourism or a destination. That means if a tourist goes from point A to point B, let's say if I have to go from Delhi to Jammu, so what will I be needing? Where will I be taking access? I mean, transportation. Where will I be staying? Where I will be eating out? Where will I be doing my entertainment and any other activities? So, what all things are there? So, all those, you can have to see the full cycle and how will I come back to my hometown to Delhi. Now, in doing so, what do we see? We see, is there anywhere that it's not being properly covered? Is there any place that I can move in? I can fit my business in? That's where we look at the missing links in the chain. And then obviously, is there any specific incentive being given by the government? So is the government giving you any incentive for setting up a business? Is there any provision, any reservations, anything that is being provided to you to set up a particular business? That is another aspect that is being looked at by an entrepreneur. Now, to my understanding, and to be very honest, there are a lot of opportunities, especially in India. We can do a lot of opportunities in terms of starting an entrepreneurship. Yes, you need to have entrepreneur mindset. That means you need to set up something. Otherwise, there's no shortage of any opportunities. We are way too many, and we really can bring out a lot of new things, new businesses to cater different needs of the customer. I'll come to that a little bit later, but then one important thing before that is that you must be very, very careful. You must be keen observer to customers' needs. If you know your customer needs, if you know the taste of your customer or the latest trends which are going in the market, I tell you, you really are already done. 90% of your job is done to set up your own business. So that's another thing, that you need to know the needs of the customer. So which comes in, kicks in another name, or you call a terminology called profiling your tourist. Profiling your tourist. Yes, that's right. Now, what happens is that you need to see how in the process from Delhi to Jammu back to Delhi, you need to see the process. Who are the people going to Jammu from Delhi? What is the intent? How many days? What are the necessities? What are the needs? What are the likes and dislikes? How many days do they stay? So all those questions that you need to ask and check and verify, and you then say, okay, fair enough, I'm going to deal with young customers who are between maybe 16 to 30, unmarried young customers who are interested in, let's say, there's a place in Jammu where you can have rowing. Yes, okay. Water sports, or the place called Patnitop or Batot where you can have skiing. So you are now focusing on that, or maybe motorbiking, or maybe if you want to set up something in what's called mountain biking, or any such tours that you want to set up and start. And that's something you will focus on, particularly that category, which is called profiling your tourist. And then you look at, obviously, in your mind, you will not be looking at, in the beginning, you may not get much customers. You may have very small market, a niche market, but you need to work on your market and looking at how do I grow in a long-term perspective, along with the taking care of the environment, or being responsible tourism or eco-friendly tourism. So that's another aspect and area where a lot of opportunities available that we can work on. Now, what we're going to do is to make you understand further how do we scan the opportunities. There are a few examples of scenarios. We'll go through a few scenarios, and I'll ask you a question for each scenario, then give you answer for each scenario for you to understand it better. So let's take scenario 1. In scenario 1, JD, that's a name, JD realized that a number of visitors they visit to a wildlife sanctuary, but they may not be attracted just only by looking at a tribal village, but they may like to share their experience with the tribal villages, right? So I'll repeat, JD realized that a number of visitors who visit to a wildlife sanctuary might not be attracted only by looking at tribals, but might be interested to share their experience with the real tribal life. You know? What he did? He mobilized the resources to create a tribal village. He named the village called Spice Village. So what he did, he employed local tribals to actually stay there in that village. He offered accommodation and the local cuisine where people could go and experience them. And then that particular complex has become a prime tourist attraction. Now my question to you over here is, what did JD do? What was the opportunity that he found? So come on, think about it. Alright, I'll get back to you. Hopefully you have written down somewhere. I'll get you the answers in the coming slides. Okay, let's look at the opportunity 2. So scanning opportunity 2 is, in this scenario, looking at the success of heritage hotels, many owners of the small Haveli in Rajasthan, they started equipping themselves for the tourists and offering, in terms of their own houses or the Havelis. So then others also started following it. So what happened here? Come on, think about it. What was the opportunity here and what was opportunity scanned over here? That is our scenario 2, Haveli, right? Now let's go to scenario 3. Now in scenario 3, there was a place, tourist destination where entertainment in the evening was lacking for the tourists at the destination. Mrs. K rented a farmhouse at the destination. She rented a farmhouse. She started a kitchen and also arranged a folk dance and music in the light, in the night time. Now, what she did that, she linked with the tour operators and asked them to develop a package that the tourists at the destination could come to that farm in the night time with the music and the food. Now, the business picked up. Tell me, what exactly was the opportunity over here for Mrs. K, right? That's not the question. Third, let's go to the last scenario, which is scenario number 4. Now, it's again, all the scenarios are going to ask you to scan the opportunity, all right? Now here, Mr. KK, he heard at a social gathering that Department of Tourism was developing a special tourism promotion package for Japan. Now, he picked up the information from the sources and he verified the information. Now, he was aware that there was 1 year time for the promotion campaign in Japan to bring tourists to India, and another 6 months after the tourists could actually react and follow that marketing advertisement, that promotion that was done in Japan, to come back to India. So what he did, he actually started learning Japanese, and he also learned the skills of becoming required to become an escort. Today, he's a freelance tour guide. He's escort and more sought after escort, and he's trying and thinking of opening his own escort agency. What did Mr. KK do? What was the opportunity that Mr. KK picked up? This is another aspect or another question you should ask yourself. Okay, I believe you have written down the answers for the questions I asked you each opportunity. Let's go back and have a look at it. All right, let's look at a recap of the spotting or scanning the opportunity scenarios. In the first scenario, which was JD, he used his own imagination. Yes, JD used his own imagination in terms of a wildlife sanctuary to make a spice village where people could come and enjoy the real experience with the locals or the tribals. Now, in the second scenario, there was an idea which was picked up. Yes, the idea was heritage. Havelis, and people started using the Havelis and they started doing the business. In case 3, in term of the third scenario where we had Mrs. K, so Mrs. K, where she actually rented a farmhouse, right? So what did Mrs. K do? Mrs. K actually looked at the observation. He looked at the experience of the customers. He realized, there's something missing in the night time. and something can be done. And then she did that. And last and least, Mr. Fourth, which was Mr. KK, what he do? He heard and open and verified from his circus and Department of Tourism that there was a new campaign for promotion was going on in Japan. That means people from Japan will come to India. That means they will need a language, isn't it? So he actually learned language and tourist card. He became very much famous. And not only that, grew because he was a freelancer. And now he has his own, he's setting up his own agency. So what did we realize in all four scenarios? The important aspect was to scan opportunity. So scanning opportunity is the very first important step, and then we need to do, and then obviously we move on further from there. Now there are other scenarios too where not only that scanning the opportunity, sometimes there are other situations that people are motivated through incentive campaigns, or there are campaigns that government does. What they do is they give you some incentives. So to give you an example, that Department of Tourism motivated people to start paying guest accommodation. Well, why? Because they realized that the less number of rooms available in the particular destination, they said, start paying guest accommodation. Oh, okay, fair enough. If I do that, even government gave the training for housekeeping and assistance for monetary assistance, just in case if you wanted to set up your own, added one room to your house and whatnot. So wouldn't that be a great idea? Wouldn't that push you? That's another opportunity that you sense and scan. And then obviously you move on and you really work on the opportunity. Now, when this opportunity scanning is done, I think that's a time we need a lot of support, isn't it? We need a lot of assistance and support in terms of letting us know what to do, how to do. And yes, for sure, an entrepreneur will go and try to find or seek information which is dependable, which is the correct information, isn't it? Now, it is not only that, it doesn't stop here where you have to just scan the opportunity, isn't it? It goes beyond. You have to look at the environment. You have to scan the environment, not just the opportunity. Now, you have to look, where do I stand? Where does my idea stand? Where are my competitors? So you need to know about our strengths and weaknesses in terms of capacity, in terms of thoughts, in terms of connections, in terms of monetary values, and a lot many other things. And at the same time, what could be the threats? So you have to look at the threats also. So obviously, there's a term called SWOT analysis. I did discuss this some with you, which is S for strength, W for weakness, O for opportunities, and T for threats. We shall do this in very soon in a few moments further. Now, obviously, as an entrepreneur, you must be able to scan the SWOT in strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats to actually understand where do you stand, and obviously look at converting a potential opportunity into a real opportunity. Potential could be done to a real opportunity. Now, as the word came, assessing the market. So I was talking to you about profiling the customer, but there's another bigger umbrella. That means where are you at the moment? That means where are you working? So I gave you example from going from Delhi to Jammu. So how many tourists are going over there? What is the whole market? So it's called assessing the market. So an entrepreneur, while working to develop any product or service, have to assess the market. What is the growth of that market? What is the potential of that market? So I'll give you one more example to share over here. The area called Ladakh. Ladakh has become union territory now recently. Now, Ladakh, I have studied with the students, my batchmates were Ladakhis. They used to have a beautiful places. They used to send pictures long term back, and now with this new development come up, they are beautifying further. They are making more marketing campaigns, and they have their own houses, and they actually have the hotels within the houses. Yes, so they come, and the last final day they come and sit with the whole family sits for the dinner with the tourists. They come for once for the last day. Now, what I'm saying is there's a lot of opportunity now. There are many restaurants, or many hotels rather, I would say, well, not hotels, restaurants. What they do is they operate during what's it called, winter season, November, December, January, February. They operate in Goa, and during summers they go to Ladakh. So the same people who are working in Goa, they move and they work in Ladakh during summers, because Ladakh is a very strong potential market in summers. Now, think about it. That Ladakh is a market itself. So that's exactly what I was trying to do. Assess the market of Ladakh. How many hotels are there? How many locals are doing it? How many outsiders are doing it? Is there any restrictions for outsiders? Is there support from the government? Okay, when you do the agency, is a language a barrier? Is anything else that can come as a barrier? So lot many things in the market you have to see. So that is something called assessing the market. Okay, now not only that, you have to look at the competitors. How many more people are there who are really working or into the same idea that you are working on, right? Now, one thing must be there, that with an entrepreneur, they must have distinctive competencies. We discussed that earlier, that you must have a burning fire, a desire to set up your own business, number one. And also, along with that, you must have ability and or experience to compete effectively. Not just open the business is enough, you have to now compete with the competitors. Yes, there are other people also there in the market who are doing the same as you and who are doing the same business, so they're competitors. So you need to make sure that you are making your business, it's like your business like a baby. You make your baby so strong that no one can fight your baby, right? Now, you have to analyze the market. To look at, once you analyze the market, you must have the ability to manage and outperform your competitors. That's another aspect that you need to understand as an entrepreneur. Now, there is a survey which is done by NCAER, and out of the survey, the output of the survey came, the questions asked, and 3 out of 4 entrepreneurs, they had chosen the products for their own business setups which were marketable. That means they could market easily and had potential demand. That means the businesses, they had potential demand. People, really were looking forward to that, and they were marketable. That means you can do marketing about it. An example, I'll just give you an example of Ladakh. Ladakh is marketable? Yes, it is indeed. Ladakh, the problem is it's so much of snow that comes, it cuts off the whole country, right? Now there's a new tunnel which has come up, right? So that means now it's the right time for you to think about it. Think about entrepreneurial activities or businesses that can be done now. That it's like a snow and ice full, right? And in summers, it's another place. The lake that we saw in Three Idiots that gets frozen. My friends have actually been on the lake and sent the pictures. So what do you think at the moment when I'm telling you these things? I'm telling you an opportunity scanning right now. Now, you have done in your, for the marketing, you have done in your TS1 Block 6, you have done different aspects related to tourism marketing and characteristics of tourism product. I would request you to go back and have a look at those, and also on read units 20 and 21 of that course, and this will give you a more broader idea. And I want you to link the context of entrepreneurship, those marketing, relate them to entrepreneurship. Now let's move on further from here in terms of market assessment. Now, there are a few questions that we must ask to ourselves as an entrepreneur. Now, the questions like whether the product or service is being offered will have sufficient demand or not. So again, let's take example of Ladakh. So will the tour package that you prepare from people from Delhi to Ladakh, through the new tunnel, okay, will that, when you offer that, will they have demand or not? What type of people will buy that? Who is the person who's going to buy that? Okay, and if they're buying, why would they buy that? What is something unique that you're creating in your product, in your package, that they will buy? And how many of them will buy that? Because it's not just that, if you're setting up a package and only 10 people buy the package, you may not be able to fulfill your commitment, right? So these are questions that you need to ask yourself in terms of assessing the market and profiling your customers. It's also called market demand analysis. What is the demand in the market for the product or service that you are looking at? Okay, so you need to do the analysis, find out, done by surveys. You can do some surveys, you can ask this question, see what's happening in the market from the previous trends. Also, this can come. Right? Now, you can also create a demand, among the tourists in different ways, and telling them marketing is there another way of doing it, and also through the intermediaries. Now, what again we're going to do is we are going to use marketing techniques for sure. we need to use marketing techniques because we need to reach your product or service. How does your product or service match with the desires and demands of the customers, right? You have to map that and explain that, and that's what marketing is all about. You're informing people, you're letting them know, and I will not go to the depth of it, marketing, because you will have done it by now, but obviously it is balancing and mapping with the requirement of the customer to what you're offering. How best can you match them? And that's what it's marketing all about. Okay. Now, we will also be at this stage, we'll be analyzing the competitive situation, which is very, very important aspect. That how are our competitor doing, right? We look at the market research. We look at the share of competitors. I'll give you one good example, or I'll change a different analogy. I will do it in a different way. Let's say from Delhi to Ladakh is one market, and then one market is as one pizza. Yes, one pizza. So one pizza, big 12-inch pizza is a market. Now, how many players are there? How many people are there who are actually doing the tour and travels for sending people to Ladakh? Let's say there are 6 people, right? So the 12-inch pizza you divide into 6 parts. May not be equal. Some is doing bigger, maybe has a bigger, he's a bigger travel agent, and more people are going. Some are smaller travel agents. So that's what I'm saying. So you divide and into 6 different parts now. So what is the share of each, and where can you fit in? You look at those 6 players in there and look at those players. What are the pros and cons? I mean, what are doing good and what they're not doing good? Again, the SWOT analysis will tell you. Now, in the competitive situation analysis, you actually try to find out, you really find out what things are being done good and bad, and what are those bad things that you can pick and improve and really work for giving a service to your customers. And if there are, so for that, you really have to do few things. That means you need to understand much better. You need to go and realize what are the good and bad things. How do you do that? Let's take an example to find out how do we do that. So this time I'm taking another example. I know I'm giving a lot of examples, but I hope it's making it easier for you to understand, right? Now we will take an example of a restaurant. Let's say we're opening a restaurant in Delhi. Let's open a restaurant in Delhi. Okay. To open your own restaurant, what would you do? Let's look at it. First of all, the few steps that you will do. First of all, you like to find out which area of Delhi do you want to open a restaurant, right? Okay. Then you look at how many restaurants are there in the vicinity. Where do you want to start? How many other restaurants are there? Maybe similar restaurants as you are, or over total restaurants. Okay. Now the restaurant that you are targeting at, what again, custom profiling, what customers come over there, what time of the day they come, what are the operating hours over there, how many people are there, how many chairs, table, big, small, services, all those things. Then you go to the restaurant and go as a customer. Okay. When you go as a customer, you look at the environment, look at the service timing, look at if there is anything special they're giving. Are they giving any kids meal? Are they giving a high chair for children or toddlers? Are they giving any special meal plans? Are they giving special discounts for army people or disabled? Has they got disabled passage? So there are a lot of things. How are the what is the taste of the food? What is the ambience? What about what's it called, customers? Are there any angry customer, happy customers? There's so many things. Look at the menus. What is the variety? So there's so many things you will actually understand from going to that particular restaurant, and then not that one restaurant, go to the restaurants, all the restaurants in the vicinity, and make your notes for every restaurant. Come back and look at it, and then draw maybe a big board and try writing for each restaurant. You do a SWOT analysis also. Now when you've done that, you will actually understand the strength and weaknesses of your competitors as compared to where you are. Now this will give you a lot of opportunity for you to find out their weaknesses, and you will actually can pick up what do you want to serve in your restaurant. How do you want to have your restaurant different than others, and then your baby is stronger so that others cannot find your baby. That means that's your restaurant. It could be a special recipe, it could be a special sauce, it could be a celebrity chef, it could be a new trend, it could be anything. So that's exactly you will come out as an entrepreneur. Now There's one very important thing in terms of entrepreneurship and in terms of setting up a new business. You know, people are looking for ideas. They have money, right? As an entrepreneur, you may not have that money. You may have, but you may not have that much great money. But there are people who are sitting with a lot of money with them, right? As soon as you get your idea in the market, once your idea or your baby goes to the market, people see your baby, they want to replicate things and try to follow what you did, right? So you make sure that your product and service is unique and you keep it unique. How do you keep that unique? Well, always remember the people who compete with each other to make sure they attract the customer, because the customer is going to pay you money, right? And utilize your services. Now, they compete with each other. They try to add on things. So what you do is you actually make sure you have research every other restaurant around in your area, anything that others cannot copy. Well, if they can copy, then they cannot reach the level that you have reached. Or by the time they copy and follow you, you actually already modified something further. You enhance, you support, you increase, so that your competitors always try to catch up with you and they're still trying wherein you already moving ahead. So that's another aspect that an entrepreneur should be always adding more attractions, more things in the products or services that you always are, focused ahead. And obviously for that, you need a lot of research. You need a lot of information. You need a lot of work as a team to work and improve your product. Okay. Now, there's another aspect that you must do that in terms of understanding the trade practices. Now, as I was saying, if you open a restaurant, so you need to see what is the trade practice in Delhi area when you're opening a restaurant. The operating hours, can you open in the house or not? What are the licenses and permissions? What are different things required when you have the restaurant? Parking, maybe. What is it? That unions tell you, trade unions tell you, or the government regulations tell you. You have to follow those things. Along with that, you have to have linkages. Where can I get my suppliers? How can I get my customers? Marketing, all those promotions that you need to be done in terms of making sure you're always ahead of others and you're always focused on your business. The long list, there's a list of intermediaries. A long list is there, and I would request you to see TS on block 2 and to understand it better. But there is a lot of things that you need to work on to understand that you need to do in setting up business, such as discounts, commissions, credit terms, that how much credit can you give, let's say you have a package. Okay, you can pay by parts, you can pay in 3 months time, pay now, it's called visit now, pay later, whatever different terminologies can be used. What are the legal implications of whatever marketing that you're doing? Are you doing the right marketing? Are you being not doing the right marketing? So all those things needs to be really worked upon. And obviously then we look at what is the infrastructure requirement that's required to open up your venture or your business. And then we look at what is the image and the market research of the intermediaries that you are dealing with. Let's say you are dealing with a supplier who had a very bad name and due to which there was some issue, or you're dealing with a company who has been dealing with wrong practices and which has got a bad name. So that means you're associating with a person who has got a bad name. It may come back to you and reflect on yours. So having said that, you must, as an entrepreneur, on this topic, I'll leave it over here for today, and then I'll see you in the next session where we will be covering up the next topic for the day. Now, going back, so we realized that in scanning an opportunity, it is very important for us to understand, to know how to scan an opportunity, number one. And we understood that what the entrepreneurs who already been successful, what did they in the survey, what motivated them to open their own venture. Then we worked on a few scenarios to understand how to scan an opportunity. Once we done that, after that, what we did as we worked on what is a SWOT analysis. But before that, we did what is the profiling of customer, and then we did a SWOT analysis to understand the competitors. Then we worked on the market assessment. What is the market and what are different aspects used in the market? We did market and why will someone buy your product and service? and then we looked at the demand analysis, and obviously we did the steps and took example of a restaurant. What would you do in terms of if you have to set up your own venture as a restaurant? We did some steps, and obviously we did as we understood about marketing and intermediaries. And obviously here I would say that you have actually covered this concept. I'm very positive that this will help you in understanding how to scan an opportunity. Thank you so much for today. I will see you in the next session. Take care. Bye.